Hello, and welcome to the podcast of CMC Life Coach. Today's podcast is titled Changing Negative Chain Reactions to Positive Chain Reactions. Whether we have a basic positive or negative attitude, we'll find ourselves in relationships where conflict and the potential for anger and frustration are present. Challenging relationship situations always present the possibility of a negative chain reaction occurring. What do you do in this scenario? Turning this into a potential positive chain reaction is a crucial skill to develop in relationships and stress management. I'm going to use an example from a past work relationship of mine to illustrate how I turned a relationship that was full of negative chain reactions into one that became characterized by positive chain reactions. The example is one that I know many people have experienced in their working life: a disrespectful superior. I will characterize this past working relationship in general terms. You're working a job and your boss likes you. You're doing a good job and getting praise that you feel you deserve for a job well done. You're enjoying your work until a change is made. A new supervisor who does not care for the good work you've done in the past and treats you with little respect. In fact, they seem to take a personal dislike to your personality. Not an uncommon situation, but how do you deal with this? Back to negative thought spirals and conditioned responses. Recall from earlier podcasts that due to the fight or flight stress response, our thinking can quickly turn into negative spirals, and this can feed into conditioned responses. This was definitely the case in my work situation. The disrespect of my new supervisor created a great deal of stress for me, and this in turn led to negative thought spirals such as, I can't stand this guy. If he has one more insult for me, I'll explode. And I can't stand this job. Things like that. And I was in fact seething with hidden anger. I was definitely in a bad mood space while trying to put on a brave and smiling face at work. I was unable to communicate honestly, and I began to fear my supervisor's presence, and this affected my work performance. This led to my supervisor having less respect for me, and this in fact was the beginning of a negative chain reaction in our relationship. The more disrespect he showed me, the worse I performed at my job, which led to more disrespect. While my thinking was going negative, my conditioned response for the situation in my past was just to take the disrespect, say nothing, and try to do my best, while at the same time building a secret anger. And I would just basically in the past take the abuse and crap until I'd had enough and either explode or just quit and move on to another job. However, in this situation, I really enjoyed the work and I hoped it would not come to me quitting. My conditioned responses and my negative thought spirals needed to change. Now, you may not think that just by changing your thinking patterns that you could change a relationship like this based on disrespect. But that's not so. In some situations you can. And such was the work situation I'm describing. Now, recall from an earlier podcast on positive thinking, I described injecting positive thoughts into your thoughts to overwrite negative ones. And so this is what I began to do. In this situation, I began to think things like, hey, my boss is a great teacher for me, and I know we can become friends, and he's really a good and decent person. And in addition to that, I began to visualize a time when we would be able to get on and work together without all the disrespect. Well, this is the first step of retraining my brain to think differently about the situation, and was a crucial step in changing my level of self-confidence about the situation. And in a short space of time, by thinking differently, by thinking the positive affirmations about the situation, I was able to gather the self-confidence to confront my new supervisor about disrespectful behavior. And this is something I had never been able to do in the past. It was a scary situation, and I actually privately rehearsed what I was going to say when I confronted my new supervisor. And when I did it, I was able to do it in a way that was respectful, yet challenging. I basically called him out on saying things to me that were personally out of line. And because of this, the whole dynamic of the relationship changed. It had been in a negative chain reaction spiral before, and now that kind of stopped and it began to move into a positive chain reaction. And I had used the training of my brain with positive thoughts to drop my hidden charge of anger. I replaced the negative thoughts and feelings with a sincere desire to become friends and create a good working relationship. Now, in time, this is what in fact took place. Our relationship began a positive chain reaction of mutual respect and friendship, and this actually became a great benefit to our workplace. As a result, I began to experience mostly positive motivation and energy in this relationship, and it enabled this positive chain reaction to continue. Now, what I did in the workplace really reduced my stress immensely, and the same is true for you in all your relationships, no matter how complicated or entangled. Developing positive chain reactions in relationships will become a real key to your success in life and to being able to handle your stress. In the next podcast, we're going to look at another key for you to have in a successful life where you can transform stress into something positive. Thanks for listening.